Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of the In the Ring Action podcast. I'm your host, Peter, and today I am flying solo. I got the go ahead from you guys on the poll saying that I could go solo. I have about an hour, a little bit over that, to talk to you guys about wrestling. So we got a lot to talk about. Obviously, WrestleMania weekend, and I just couldn't miss the opportunity to do a podcast right after NXT Takeover New Orleans, WrestleMania 34, and then Raw and SmackDown, obviously with a couple of call-ups and returns. So I couldn't afford to miss this week. Anyway, we got a lot to talk about. But first, I want to just get into just basically the schedule of the podcast. While I'm not really sure when I'm going to do it, it should be on either a Monday, Thursdays, or Fridays. So Mondays, Thursdays, or Fridays are normally when they're going to be on. This one is being pre-recorded. Normally, I'm going to do them live around 5 Eastern. Would be the normal time I expect to go live, except on Mondays they would be pre-recorded as well. But either Thursdays or Fridays at 5 p.m. Eastern. That's what we're looking at. I'm trying to get either Peter Kramer, the my German friend, or Jason, aka Neck, to come on the podcast too. So it's not just me all the time. But anyway, if you guys don't know, we have a Twitter page at In the Ring Action. The links is in the description. Um, we also have a blog where Peter and Neck they review the whole show. Raw, SmackDown, NXT, 205 Live. Next, going to be doing NXT Takeover New Orleans, and Peter and I will be doing WrestleMania 34. That should be up this weekend, I'm expecting. But anyway, now without any further ado, let's get straight up to NXT Takeover New Orleans that happened on the Saturday, and boy, did it deliver! I felt that it was a really good show. Obviously, it started off with the ladder match. It was Ricochet, Lars Sullivan, EC3, Adam Cole, uh, Killian Dane, and I'm missing somebody else, but who am I missing? Really? All right. Who now? I shouldn't be missing who the other guy was, but I'm missing, so I gotta go double check that. That is weird. I normally know who it is, but I guess I gotta remember. But anyway, I thought that I'll tell you guys when I see it. I thought that Ricochet stole that whole match. I thought it was really really good, and they definitely relied on him to do most of the spots. He did a really good job, and it's not surprising for those that know uh, what he accomplished in the indie scene. So him, he had a very good match. Oh, Velveteen Dream. That's the one that I'm missing, isn't it? Velveteen Dream. There we go. Just got it from the top of my head. But anyway, Ricochet did really well. Velveteen Dream had that purple rainmaker from the top of the ladder, which was really amazing. Both and um, Lars and Dane both had spots with the ladders, also breaking them on the smaller guys. I thought he got to showcase almost everyone, and honestly, I thought Ricochet was gonna win, but in the end, it's Adam Cole. I was a little bit upset with the result because I expected the Undisputed Era to get the call up, but because I expected them to lose the tag team titles, but obviously we're gonna get to the tag team match in a little bit. But in the end, it was such an enjoyable match that yeah, Adam Cole won, but it was amazing, and it had everything you'd want. I'm also not sure though about Lars Sullivan. Apparently, either people just really don't like him or they didn't want him to win that match because he was getting booed every time he went up the ladder. So that is something that I really don't know about. But It's something that happened. But I thought everybody was really good, and Killian Dane is tremendous. He's gonna be a very good big man for WWE. He's really talented. But yeah, that was really one of the best matches of the night. Straight from the get go. Then we had Ember Moon against Shayna Baszler, which I felt was a little bit disappointing, but at the same time, it was something that I expected. I'm not sure how much Shayna has gelled in the ring, but she did fine. I thought that the spot where she popped her shoulder back using the ring post was really badass and kind of gives her a much badass character, I guess. She just proves that she can endure levels of pain that others normally can't. So I thought that was really well made. And in the end, Ember Moon didn't tap. She just faded, and the ref called for the bell. So she kind of, it kind of also shows the resiliency of Ember Moon. I was expecting whoever lost this match to be called up, and it was exactly what happened on Raw with Ember Moon showing up. Shayna Baszler, all right, we'll see what your reign will be. I'm a little bit skeptical, but it's gonna be definitely something new and something interesting, and it's worth giving them a shot. So congratulations for Shayna Baszler. The next match we had was the tag team match, AOP against Strong and Pete Dunne, and the Undisputed Era with Adam Cole doing a little bit of double duty. Obviously, Adam was completely put out of the match early on with a power bomb to the table. He went through the table and that was it. Obviously, it's something that I expected. The AOP looked really dominant and really strong, but we also knew that they weren't going to win because they were nearing a call up. I expected them to get called up after Philadelphia, but that didn't happen. But it did happen on Raw this week, so they were really good. But the real story is when Dunn hits the bitter end. Sorry, the bitter end on Kyle O'Reilly, and he goes for the pin, and Roderick Strong breaks it up. And at that moment, I was like, "Holy hell! They're pulling off the heel turn. That's massive." He hits the hand of Heartache on Pete Dunne, puts Kyle O'Reilly on top of him, and they win the match. And that was something else. That was really good. One of my favorite moments from this weekend, because I didn't have that many on WrestleMania, but that that was just awesome. It was really good, and this allows the Undisputed Era to continue in NXT because Roderick Strong is going to take Bobby Fish's spot. I don't think anybody's going to argue that. Adam Cole is not that much of a tag team wrestler. So that's why, I thought, they're getting the call up because they didn't have anybody else to replace Bobby Fish. But, they went in and they turned Roderick Strong heel. And, like Nex said, he was saying that Pete Dunne is going to drop that UK championship to Roderick Strong. And I wouldn't be happy if that happened. Now, if you guys follow me on Twitter, you know that both of my favorite, two of my favorite, actually, yeah, my two favorites from NXT are Roderick Strong and Andrade Cien Almas. So I would love to see Roderick finally get some gold, and this heel turn was just absolutely tremendous, and I have no doubts that he can pull it off. Um, then we had Andrade Cien Almas versus Alistair Black, which was a match that I expected Almas to win, but I wouldn't be shocked if Alistair won. I was more worried about how he would win. The match was really pretty much what you expect. It was good. Zelina Vega had a few interferences. She got Alistair Black. She hit Alistair Black with two Hurricanranas, basically. One against the steel stairs, the other one against the mat face first. That was really brutal. I really liked that spot. But she went to the well too many times. She tried to get Alistair Black in a crossbody, but Almas ends up picking her up. And while he has her in his arms, Alistair hits the Black Mass, and that's it. I thought but the whole match was really enjoyable. Also, when Almas kicks out of that Black Mass because of Zelina, and it's just like their money. They're so good, and I think Andrade should go straight into a title picture in the main roster because he's just that good. And I expected the same from Aleister Black too. As soon as he gets called up, because these guys are stars, and Andrade is what Vince wants in a Latino wrestler. He's amazing in the ring. And he's got Zelina to back him up on promo wise. I mean, I don't know what's there to not like about Andrade Cien Almas. To me, he delivered one of the best matches I've ever seen against Johnny Gargano, which to me was well worth the Dave Meltzer's 5 stars. Whatever that ends up mattering, but he's really good. Aleister Black was really good. I had this idea where Alistair would win and vacate the championship, so he would get called up without a loss in singles competition. Uh, I think that could still happen eventually, but I'm really interested to see where they go on the NXT title picture because I honestly don't want to see Johnny Gargano back in it. I don't think it's the time for him. Um, but I'm just curious how well Aleister Black is gonna do as a champion, and just his whole persona, his whole character is so different that it's definitely gonna be interesting. Much like Shayna Baszler's, I think both of these championship reigns are gonna be something to keep an eye out on. And then to close out the show, we had Johnny Gargano versus Tommaso Ciampa, which I believe I'm in the minority here, where I didn't think the match was as good as people were hyping it up to be. In no way, shape, or form, I think it was a bad match. I just don't think it was the pinnacle of a grudge match. It had very good spots. It was enjoyable. But to me, the fact that the wrong man won at the end, swayed my decision or my opinion on this match because I felt like Johnny Gargano had nothing it has nothing to gain by winning this match. He loses, he gets a massive call up. He gets that pop on Raw or on SmackDown. Everybody goes crazy. He challenges for one of the minor titles, and it's great. And you establish Ciampa as the biggest goddamn heel this company has seen in I don't know how many years. Yet um you let him get tapped out by Gargano, and I felt it was just unnecessary, and it helped sway my decision on this match. It wasn't bad, it was good, but I think it could have been better had the right man won. And at the end of the day, it went down to that. But that's what they decided to give Gargano another run in NXT. That's why I don't want to see him in the title picture. I want to see something new. But we'll just have to wait and see, really, and see where they go with it. But I'm kind of disappointed with the ending. But it was a great show overall. I would probably, if I would rate it out of from 1 to 10, I would probably rate it 9.5 or 9, given the fact of that ending that I didn't like. But overall, I thought it was a really good show. And anyway, moving on now to WrestleMania, which had no chance at all to match NXT Takeover, and it really didn't. We'll start with a battle royal where Matt Hardy won. Matt Hardy won. That's all I'm gonna say about this battle royal. It was useless. Adam, I still don't understand why we have it. I don't understand why he needed to win it either. It's just another year wasted on the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Eh, it's just bad. Then we had Cedric Alexander versus Mustafa Ali, which I thought was going to close out the pre-show, but it didn't. They went in second. I thought it was a good match. I don't think it exposed everything 205 Live is, but like I said on my predictions, either of them is just holding the title until Murphy takes it anyway. And we saw that on 205 Live when he attacked Cedric Alexander. Murphy's going to be Cruiserweight champion very, very, very soon. Maybe a backlash. Who knows when they're doing that match? But certainly he's gonna win it very soon. Cedric finally had his moment. Mustafa Ali had one of the best entrances I've ever seen in WrestleMania history, and it was an enjoyable match. It wasn't as good as they could have put out. No, but it was still enjoyable, and it was part of the good matches on WrestleMania, which there weren't that many. And then Naomi won the women's battle royal, which made me want to punch my TV screen. I don't understand why she had to win this. I thought that Bailey giving Sasha the handshake and then throwing her over the top rope would be the basically the best way to end it. But no, Naomi somehow stayed for like most of the match, and outside of the ring, and then he hits her the rear view and then throws Bailey out, and that's it. She won. I don't like Naomi. I find her very boring, and I honestly don't understand what this does for her. It's not going to do anything for her. Bailey could have had the continuation of their storyline saying, "Hey, Sasha, see, even in the battle royal, I could still beat you, and it didn't beat me. I'm better than you," and all that. Whenever Sasha tried to throw something at her, she's not going to have that now, really, because Naomi won it, and I don't think it does anything for Naomi. So that was really disappointing. Then we move on to the main card, and we start off with a bang. Seth Rollins versus The Miz versus Finn Balor was probably third best match of the night, probably. It was really fun, really enjoyable. At one point, I think everybody knew that Seth was going to win because The Miz had hit his finisher, Finn had hit his finisher, so we were kind of expecting Seth to win anyway. I was kind of surprised that on the betting odds, Finn was favorited to win, but Seth won a really good match. I'm interested to see where this goes because I could see Finn going to SmackDown. Um, and we continue a little bit with the Miz Seth Rollins feud for a little bit longer because those two have a match at Backlash. Um, Finn does want to go with the title, but I think he's going to be moved to SD come the shakeup next week. But it was definitely a very enjoyable match and still one of the best of the night. And I didn't expect any less from Seth and Finn. And The Miz is a very talented wrestler too that doesn't get the credit he deserves. He's on a certain level the same as Alexa Bliss because Alexa is extremely talented on the mic, the best women on the mic, and The Miz is the best guy on the mic. But since they're both not that good in the ring, that gets overshadowed. But I believe that The Miz is still a very, very solid worker and undoubtedly deserves his eighth intercontinental championships that he won. I think it was eight. And he's surely going to be the longest reigning intercontinental champion very, very soon. Then we move on to Charlotte versus Asuka, which shocked everybody, including me, including just everybody. Everybody. I called out that Charlotte was going to win, mostly based on emotion and her entrance, because entrances sometimes also show you who's going to win in the way of how big they are. But she is the best women's wrestler of all time in the WWE. I don't dispute that in any way. That's my belief. And I think she's one of the best on the mic too. I would say that she is the most complete female superstar we've ever seen. That's how I see it. And nobody more deserving to beat Asuka's streak. And this does wonders for Asuka too, because I didn't dislike Asuka. I liked Asuka, but the fact that they had the streak on them, they were shackled by the streak. The outcome of of most matches were, obvious. And now that changes. She's human. She can still lose matches. She makes everything more appealing, more entertaining. You watch an Asuka match, and you don't know if she's going to win. And we'll see how that develops her character too, because she finally lost. She might snap. She might, there's a lot of things that they can do with this, and some people are unhappy with the streak being ended, but I am not a fan of streaks. I was never a fan of streaks. I was extremely upset when HBK didn't defeat the Undertaker twice. I thought he was the better man on both of those matches. So if I wasn't a fan of Undertaker's streak, I wasn't a fan. If I was around to watch Goldberg's streak, I wouldn't have been a fan. And if I'm not a fan of Asuka's streak, you can see the trend here. I'm not, one of those that likes to just bash on something because everybody's doing it. But I felt the match was good. I felt they could have given it an extra 10 minutes, maybe a bit less, but it was because it was shifting into another gear. Everybody was getting more into the match, and then Asuka kind of taps out a bit out of nowhere. But it was still a really good match, and it was still the perfect woman to defeat um, Asuka was Charlotte. And then we had Jinder Mahal versus Randy Orton versus Bobby Roode versus Rusev. Jinder Mahal won. Then I don't know what they're doing to Rusev. I really don't have any words. This match was okay. It was okay. It was there, and Jinder Mahal won, and we're getting Jinder Mahal versus Randy Orton again. So that was the thing. Moving on to what I believe was match of the night: Kurt Angle and Ronda Rousey against Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. And boy, this was just a lot of fun. He had so many funny spots, some badass spots. The Triple H going up against Ronda Rousey, um, or Ronda teasing Stephanie about the armbar. It was it was awesome. We also had Kurt Angle hit the ankle lock on Stephanie, and I thought they were going to protect Ronda in this one, but they went all out on her first match and at WrestleMania, and she tore the house down. I have no doubts that she's going to be extremely good in the WWE. She is just really really good, and it impressed me what she was able to do with one match under her belt. Imagine when she has maybe a full year of wrestling under her belt, how good she's going to be. Uh, if they are indeed going to do Charlotte versus Ronda Rousey, I don't think there's a better match to main event WrestleMania than that one, because you have the best female superstar ever, with probably one of the most talented uh, female competitors in the whole planet. So this was lots of fun. This match was amazing. Ronda Rousey is unbelievable, and she may not be good on the mic yet, but her in ring talent is massive, and she's a huge wrestling fan, and she's got the talent, and it shows. It shows the passion that we want to see, and it was just a really really good match, and it was the longest match of the night, and nobody expected it to be. And there were moments where I thought Triple H and Stephanie were gonna win, and I was like, "No way! They're handing Ronda her first match is gonna be a loss. No way that's happening." But he had me on the edge of my seat, and I thought that it was just an incredibly enjoyable match. Then we had the Bludgeon Brothers versus the Usos versus the New Day, where the Bludgeon Brothers beat the New Day to win the title in under 6 minutes. I was disappointed with this match. I thought that was the only thing where I felt that the Ronda Rousey match went a little bit too long, because they had to tone down the other matches, which I didn't really enjoy. But This one wasn't as good, but we know what every team can produce, and I'm really interested to see the Bludgeon Brothers against the Usos at the Greatest Royal Rumble in Saudi Arabia. I think that's going to be really good, and I expect the New Day either to be disbanded or to move back to Raw. I think that's what's going to happen. But the Usos finally got on the main card. The Bludgeon Brothers are champions. It's definitely going to be an interesting reign. I'm hoping that this is going to be a good one. Then we had The Undertaker defeating John Cena in under 3 minutes in a match where I felt was the most ridiculous thing in the whole world. I didn't enjoy this in any way. I don't understand why people liked it. I didn't like it at all. People are saying, "Oh, Cena wasn't prepared for Taker to actually show up, so he got beat in under 3 minutes," and like it makes sense, but it was just I wanted more out of this, and I know this is going to lead to a WrestleMania 35 match, which is something I didn't want to see. I didn't want to see one of 34. I don't want to. I didn't want to see. I definitely didn't want to see one of 35. But we're still gonna deal with the Undertaker for another year, because God knows why we're dealing with the Undertaker for another year. Just let the man retire in peace. That's all I ask. Um, but anyway, John Cena is probably going to win the second match, and the Undertaker is finally going to retire for good. Uh, and we'll move on from that. But this match was the match before was really the start of the downfall of the whole show, which had been very enjoyable until after the Ronda Rousey match. Then we had Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon defeating Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Daniel Bryan got taken out really early. I thought that was kind of dumb, but they did that. They thought it was the right decision. It kind of killed the crowd off a little bit, and we saw Shane fend off two of the best in-ring performers in WWE, which always makes up for realism, right? Awesome. No, I thought it was a decent match. It was a decent match, but Daniel Bryan was always going to win his comeback match, and we move on from this. I guess he went a little bit too long too. I didn't expect it to go that long. Hold on, let me just take a quick sip of water. Sorry about that. All right, then we had Nia Jax versus Alexa Bliss in a match where Nia Jax won. I thought this match was actually okay. I'm not going to say it was great, but I'm also not going to say it was bad, because I definitely didn't think it was bad. I thought it was good. Um, and it kind of shows that these two women, despite everybody saying, "Oh, who wants to see this match?" that they would actually work well together. Uh, I was extremely annoyed. It was, I don't know, it was like what, 3:30 in the morning, something like that, or three, yeah, really early, and Naya won, and I'm just like, I turned off my TV, and I'm like, I'm not watching this. So I ended up watching the rest of the other day because I was that upset. But Alexa did okay. Naya did okay. Both of these women are decent in the ring. They're probably better on the mic. I think Naya's been getting a lot of good lessons from The Rock, which it shows. Um, but Nia Jax won, and everybody got their wish. We'll see how good her reign is compared to Alexa's, which everybody called on Alexa for being boring when she has no control over how she gets written by creative. But I think she'll bounce back though. She's WWE showed how much they believe in her and how much they see her as an asset, and she sells well. She's the best talker in the whole women's division, so I expect her to stay relevant, honestly, and I expect her to move back to SmackDown after this week's Raw. Anyway, AJ Styles defeated Shinsuke Nakamura, which I was really happy about because I didn't feel that Nakamura deserved to win the title, and he didn't win it. It was an okay match. It wasn't that great. It didn't live up to the hype of the dream match. But the real story comes when Shinsuke uh, turns on AJ Styles with a low blow, and oh my God, finally, they did something right. And Nakamura heel turn was unexpected, and he continues their program a little bit longer. And I couldn't be happier because maybe this was the spark that Nakamura needed to show everybody what he's capable of. So I can't wait for another match. It didn't live up to the hype, but it wasn't bad, and I was certainly very happy with AJ Styles winning. Then we had Braun Strowman and Nicholas, uh, what is it? Like his 10-year-old kid defeating the tag team champions. Now, I'm gonna keep it short. I thought that obviously reading back now on it, and people were saying, oh, it was because John Coney's retiring and they wanted to do something for him and yada yada yada. And I get that, but to do it at WrestleMania and completely humiliating the tag team division, no. Like Finn Balor and Seth Rollins couldn't defeat the Bar. Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns couldn't defeat the Bar. Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins couldn't defeat the Bar. Titus Worldwide couldn't defeat the Bar. The Revival wouldn't be able to defeat the Bar. And Braun Strowman and a kid can defeat the Bar. Braun Strowman single-handedly won the tag team title. It's a mockery to the title. I wouldn't have mind. Would have this been on Raw or on a normal pay-per-view, but on WrestleMania, and you humiliate the tag team champions like that, you destroy all the value in the tag team titles. I was just glad they vacated it the day after because it was ridiculous. And then we had a match where man, Brock Lesnar beat Roman Reigns, and that match was shambles. It was bad. The crowd was really dissing it from the beginning. It just wasn't fun. Um, and we're gonna have to deal with Brock Lesnar. Hopefully, though, just until the Royal Rumble, or the greatest Royal Rumble, excuse me, where I believe that he's going to drop the belt to Roman Reigns because he's no way he's getting booed in Saudi Arabia. But man, do I feel sorry for Roman, and I like Roman. I think he's a good performer in the ring. He's definitely decent at best on the mic, but he keeps on improving. The dude has no fault to what happens with him creative wise, which is, it's what I keep saying about the Alexa reign. It goes to Roman too. They don't control what happens. They just do their job, and the way that he gets massively booed, it's starting to get to a point where it's just annoying because they boo for the sake of booing him. Some people would rather see a part timer that barely shows up on Raw, that doesn't defend the title, and just is on a segment for 5 minutes and then he goes off for like 2 months, rather than having somebody who's there week in, week out. Do they forget that Roman Reigns can drop the title just as easily as anybody else? And the fact that we have this part timer, we expect this part timer to keep making sales when we have Seth Rollins, we have Finn Balor, we have Braun Strowman, we have Roman Reigns, we have Dean Ambrose, we have AJ Styles, we have Randy Orton, we have John Cena. We don't need Brock Lesnar. We don't need Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar doesn't want to be in WWE. He threw the goddamn title at Vince. I don't know why they stick around with him. He's not needed. We just don't need him. Um, and again, I feel sorry for Roman. It's another WrestleMania main event where it's bad, and it's not his fault at all. Last year, the Undertaker couldn't even pull off a tombstone correctly. He was done. It was a really bad match, and this year is more of the same. And Roman can't do anything about it, and I feel sorry for everybody that keeps bashing on him when he's this kind of monster, when the dude is doing his best to try and make the matches enjoyable, but the people around him also don't help him, and I do feel sorry for that. I feel sorry for him. I don't think that's fair at all. But it's just what people want. But WrestleMania was not enjoyable for me. I was expecting to enjoy the matches and not enjoy the results, and it was mostly what happened. I would give it probably a 6 out of 10 simply because of how bad the rest of the show was after the Ronda Rousey match. It was an incredible downfall. It was a very very good show until then. I was ready for Alexa to lose. But I wasn't ready for Brock Lesnar to win. And the whole show, it was shambles after the Ronda Rousey match, and it sucked because it was a very good card. But it is what it is. All right, we're on to the two final shows. And I'm gonna try and be brief here, a little bit briefer. Obviously, WrestleMania and Takeover were more important. But anyway, on Monday Night Raw, what we saw, Ronda Rousey attacked Stephanie again. It was, I don't know, maybe to write off Steph off TV for a little. I'm not sure. Ember Moon debuted on Raw, pinning Alexa, which just makes me believe that she's not going to stay on Raw. I don't think you let the NXT call up pin clean the former champion for her to stay in the division. I think Alexa's gone off to SmackDown. I don't see her coming back to Raw. Anyway, No Way Jose makes his debut. I'm not sure why he made his debut, but No Way Jose is on Raw, I guess. Luke Gallows and Kyle Anderson lost to the Revival, which again makes me think that the Balor Club is on his way to SmackDown. Um, we saw Jeff Hardy make his return. He had a match later on that night. Sasha Banks versus Mandy Rose, where Bayley went out, stole the spotlight from Sasha, ends up hitting her with a forearm, and Sasha loses the match. Bayley didn't want to do it. It was one of those things where Mandy ducks under Bayley and she hits Sasha. They continue their program. I'm totally okay with it. I don't really mind at all this Bayley versus Sasha program. And then Paige retired, which you know finally, I guess, because we all knew it was going to happen, and it finally happened. So you know that was a thing. Bobby Lashley returned to destroy Elias, and poor Elias has been treated like a jobber for the past couple of weeks. But um, he's still very much over, and the crowd loves him, and he's gonna be fine. And I'm interested to see what Bobby Lashley ends up doing on Raw. It's definitely going to be interesting. And then the AOP debut, they took on Eve Slater and Rhino, and they won. And I'm disappointed to see him on Raw because I wanted to see him face the Usos, but the AOP are on the main roster, and there's no way they're fucking that up. And I think it's going to be a really good tag division from now on. Then Roman Reigns, gave out his little speech of Brock Lesnar this, Brock Lesnar that. I didn't know that I had a match at the World's Greatest Royal Rumble, and and whatevs. And then Samoa Joe comes out to a huge pop, which finally, thank God, Samoa Joe is back, and he challenges Roman Reigns to a match at Backlash, which I'm really hoping that Roman Reigns wins against Brock Lesnar, and we have a Samoa Joe versus Roman Reigns title match at Backlash. How awesome would that be? Um, then we had the Woken Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt beating Titus Worldwide. They are going to face the Revival next week to see who takes on the Bar in the World's Greatest Royal Rumble. I'm not a huge fan of the broken gimmick and stuff, and people find it funny. I'm guessing that Bray and Matt are going to become tag team champions. I don't really care. There's better tag teams out there. There's better storylines to explore. I don't think Broken Matt Hardy needs any type of gold to be over or to make people interested. Then Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens, which I thought was a very, very good match. Obviously, as expected. But it ended in a double count out, I guess. They weren't outside of the ring, but they were down on the mat and they got counted out to 10. So nobody got a contract. What? Why? It's just. Next week, I guess you're gonna find out, but it's just why it feels kind of useless. But it was still a good match. And then we had the main event, which was Seth Rollins, Finn Balor, and Jeff Hardy taking on The Miz and The Miztourage, which obviously the good guys were gonna win. Jeff Hardy makes his return. Good. I don't. I can't get over the fact that Jeff Hardy has a lot of uh, issues off WWE, without the drugs and the alcohol and all that. So I can't really. It's hard for me to cheer for somebody like him. But as long as the story is good and the matches are good, I'm not opposing anything. And it's cool to see him have a single run too. Um, I'm definitely expecting him to get a big push, which all right, I guess. I don't, you know, the outside of WWE stuff kind of gets me a little bit put off, but it is what it is, and we got to deal with it. Then SmackDown. SmackDown kicked off with a bang. Paige is the new SmackDown Live general manager. That was a cool decision. They stick with somebody that had been in the ring, that knows, in kayfabe, they know what the wrestlers think. They should probably, she should probably do a good job, based on that. And I think that was a really cool decision. Then we saw the Usos take on the New Day to become the number one contender for the championships, even though the Usos have an automatic rematch clause. Either way, entertaining match. The New Day lost, as I expected. The Usos won. I believe the New Day on their way out to Raw, but that was a good match. Naomi versus Natalia happened because Natalia, whatever. It's Natalia versus Becky, Natalia versus Naomi, Natalia versus X, Y, or Z. It's always Natalia versus someone. So they both had a match. It was okay, and Naomi won. Then we saw Charlotte come out to the ring, and she was thanking Asuka for their match, blah blah blah, and Peyton Royce and Billy Kay finally make their main roster debut to a huge pop. They're extremely over. They beat the hell out of Charlotte, and then Carmela cashes in the Money in the Bank contract. And boy, did I think they were going to fuck it up because the referee was taking so long to accept the cash in. And I was like, they're going to have Charlotte win this, aren't they? They're going to have Charlotte win this, aren't they? I kept thinking that. But as soon as the bell rang, Carmel hits a super kick, and that was it. 1, 2, 3. She won the title. And thank God the first ever women's Miss Money in the Bank didn't freaking fail the cash in, because that would have been crazy and it would have made the whole briefcase useless. So I'm honestly not the biggest in the ring best fan of Carmella in the ring, but she can talk, she can develop, and this title reign can definitely be interesting. So I'm just happy that she finally cashed in, and she cashed in successfully. And a lot of people that are complaining about Asuka losing a streak to Charlotte. What would you rather do? I mean, honestly, Asuka had the streak for what, 400 and something days. I think a streak is not more valuable than the first ever Money in the Bank. You know, because you can only do one Money in the Bank, right? And streaks can happen, but you're not, the first ever Money in the Bank is a big deal, and she wasn't gonna beat Asuka. Carmella didn't deserve to beat Asuka, so Charlotte beat Asuka, and then she lost to Carmella, and which I think was totally fine after a brutal assault by the Iconic Duo. So I think people over scrutinize things, and I think this one would be one of those where I thought was really, um, it was just the right decision. Anyway, Randy Orton versus Bobby Roode versus Rusev happened. Rusev was close to winning. Randy Orton hits an RKO on Bobby Roode. He wins. We're getting Randy Orton versus Jinder Mahal at Backlash for the second year in a row. Yay! I honestly don't know what they're doing with Rusev, and that pisses me off. Then we had Daniel Bryan versus AJ Styles, which I thought was crazy. I didn't think they were going to give this match away on TV, but they did. But obviously, we didn't get a winner. Shinsuke Nakamura hits both guys. I think Daniel Bryan wins by DQ because I think he hit AJ first, but it's irrelevant. He hits Kinshasa on both of them, and man, Hill Nakamura should be fun. He was very sassy in the in the interview segment he had with Renee. It's gonna be fun. Daniel Bryan is back to wrestling. I don't think SmackDown is gonna screw it up too much. Obviously, they still have Road Dogg, being the head writer, but I think things are just looking up to a point where I don't think they're going to be bad. I think both shows are going to be extremely enjoyable. All right, now Peter wanted me to just say that SmackDown had lost badly to Raw in terms of debuts and returns this week, and he hopes that next week SmackDown will get more call-ups, which is something that I expect and I would assume would be the case because they always make Raw after Mania the biggest event after WrestleMania. So that's why I think Raw got the chunk of the call-ups and the returns, and they're saving next week the Superstar Shakeup for also reveal a couple of call-ups on SmackDown. I think that's what's going to be. I think they're pretty much even every single time. Absolution came up, the Riot Squad came up. The call-ups are pretty much the same for both brands. So I wouldn't expect Ember Moon, AOP, and No Way Jose to debut, and then only have Peyton Royce and Billy Kay debut on SmackDown. It wouldn't make any sense. So, but Peter wanted to mention that, and there you go, Peter. Then I just quickly want to double check, but I don't think we ended up getting any questions. I also didn't help myself too much saying, "Hey, I'm going to do the podcast," like 5 minutes before I actually did the podcast. So we didn't get any other questions, but for one that I got from my friend Tom Tomash, and he asked me a very difficult question to answer. But I'll try and be brief and I'll try and give him my best answer. But he asked me how would I turn Roman Reigns heel, and I would do a longer program with Brock Lesnar, unfortunately, but I would have 2 or 3 goons alongside Brock Lesnar. I'm not sure who. I'm just going to throw out names. Maybe Bobby Lashley and Batista, for example. Just 2 big men join Brock Lesnar, and they would constantly beat down on Roman, and Dean and Seth would always come out to aid Roman. But then he gets to a point where he has a one-on-one match with Brock Lesnar for the title, and those guys try to interfere. Dean and Seth cut him off, but somehow Roman is distracted by Seth and Dean. Brock hits the F5, pins Roman, and then Brock walks out of the ramp, on backstage, and see Seth and Dean are consoling Roman. They're like, "Hey, dude, you did your best. We did our best. You're gonna get him." Blah blah blah. And then Roman just snaps, completely loses it, and it completely destroys both of them. There's blood involved. Dean's all messed up. Seth's all bloodied up, and boom, you just created the biggest monster in Roman Reigns. It's just I feel it would be a bit of oh, that's expected. Roman Reigns turns on the Shield, but it would just be awesome to see him just destroy his best friends because he was so disappointed for losing to Brock Lesnar again. So I would do something in that sense. It doesn't have to be with Brock Lesnar. Obviously, it could be with Samoa Joe or somebody else. I was just thinking about the current program they have going on. That would be the way I would turn Roman heel. It would just be turn on his best friends or accept some kind of pact with Paul Heyman or something really that leaves no doubt. Lack of showsmanship, for example, maybe having a rematch versus Cena or something, and Cena wins and he refuses to shake his hand and completely destroys John Cena. Something of that kind. I think if for to turn Roman heel, you have to give him a really good monster vibe, and that's how I would do it. But anyway, that's all the time that I have for today. I hope I pretty much covered everything. If you guys want 205 Live and NXT reviews, they're up on our blog. You can find the link to our blog in the Twitter channel, in the Twitter on our Twitter page. There we go. I'll drop the link in the description too if I don't forget. So, future Peter, that's a memo for you. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, I will try and see if I can establish some kind of schedule. But anyway, expect it to be either Monday, Thursday, or Fridays at around 5 p.m. where we either go live or I post a podcast. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Peter1678. You can follow us on Twitter at In the Ring Action. And thank you guys for listening. Thank you for all the feedback that you surely will give me, and thank you for every question or every comment that you will make throughout the podcast. So thank you guys, and I'll see you in the next.